Alright, so I don't know. Basically, this is my first inspirational video, and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. I'm going to try to stay as much on topic as possible, which I don't know. That's kind of hard for me to do because I am constantly. I don't know. My mind constantly reels. So, anyway, the topic that I want to talk about is do men and women actually need each other? Do they need a partner for life? Or is it just simply a human want? Something that makes us feel good to have? Do I really think it's necessary? I think it is from a few different standpoints, but at the same time, I don't think it is a need. I think women can learn to be more like men, and men can learn to be more like women. Men can learn to cook. Men can learn to clean. And if they're raised in the right way, then typically they have the man who does the work and the woman who does the household things. So they learn both aspects if the mother and father are together. If they're not, they can still learn those things. So it's just a matter of wanting to be independent, wanting to take care of yourself, knowing how to take care of yourself. And so, I mean, those kinds of people, I'm that kind of person. Like, I fully dedicate myself to making money, to supporting myself. From the time I was 16 on, I wanted to buy my own things. My mom raised me by herself for 13 years, and she did everything. She worked, she cleaned the home, she literally did everything. So I was raised in a good way, even though she was a single mom. And I think that if both partners knew how to do everything that is necessary to survive, to live, and then they wouldn't depend on each other. They would appreciate each other's help, appreciate working together, and they would have a great bond. Like, I mean, if you can bond over a cup of coffee, how much further do you think you could bond doing dishes? Something mundane and boring. But if you did it together, it wouldn't be boring. It wouldn't be mundane. It would ultimately be fun because, well, depending on if you're okay with that kind of aggressiveness, if you you get your hands wet and you put them on somebody's face, you know, if they're okay with that, and you're okay with that, you're that kind of person, then you're gonna have fun doing dishes. And even if you're not having fun, even if you're not playing around while you're working, you're gonna talk. And you're gonna create a bond. Whereas if only one person in the house does dishes all the time, and only one person in the house cooks all the time, then you are literally separating a partnership in which it is separated. And I feel like, you know, men and women don't actually have a bond because they separate themselves. They separate the jobs. They separate who does what in the household rather than everyone working together. You know, and just because one job makes more money than another doesn't mean that the person works any less. In fact, most of the jobs that pay less, you actually have to work harder on. Um, they're more mentally straining rather than physically straining. So, so ultimately, I can work. I do not need a man to support me. Um, I can work any job. I could get a banking job and get paid more money than possibly what a man is going to make doing a factory job. I could be a lawyer. There's so many jobs out there that women can do that pay good money. A nurse. It's not just the hard physical labor that pays good money. So, in turn, a woman does not need a man for money support, for financial support. If they have that, it's awesome. I do have that personally. And because of that, I've been able to work a pathetic job. As a delivery driver, I feel that it is a pathetic job, but it is something that I enjoy. So I can do a job that I enjoy because my husband is financially supportive. He makes more money than I do. But I make enough money even doing that job to where I could financially support myself. I would have to live in a cheaper house. I would have to not want, so many nice things. I would have to limit how much I want, but I would still be able to support myself. I could still do it off of a small paycheck. I could live in a income-based housing. We don't have to have extreme finances in order to live. You can live with the basics, and you can make that work. So in turn, having a man who makes more money, typically you spend more. I've found that to be very, very true. So, does a woman need a man for financial support? No. Because financial support, all you need are the basics. You don't need shoes. You don't need entertainment. You need food. You need shelter. You need some clothing. But you can get those at any cheap place. Even your cigarette habit, which I have, I could support myself. Financial support is irrelevant because with or without a man, you would know that you need to make money. With or without a woman, a man is going to make money. Everyone knows money is essential for survival, at least now. But do we need each other for that financial support? To me, the answer is no. Emotional support. Do we need a partner for that? I value the man's perspective on life to the extremes. Most of my friends are males. So understanding their logic, understanding their ideas on what things should and shouldn't be, how things should and shouldn't be in this world, listening to that perspective, I know my views on it, and I've found that most of their views are very similar. Some of them are very different, which is cool. It's interesting to find out from the other mind, which we all have that other mind. We all have those differing opinions and views. So in turn, do I need a man who is typically more logical than emotional for emotional support? To me, the answer to that is once again no. I can get the male's perspective from my friends, my guy friends. I can get the female's perspective, which is mostly emotional. And I can get emotional support from another female. Men, typically, since they think more similarly, a man's emotional support is going to be more logical. So in turn, having a fair amount of female friends and male friends, you would not need another partner. You would not need a partner to have emotional support if you listen to your friends, if you actually spend time with your friends and you talk to them about how you feel about certain things and they talk back. To have emotional support, I don't think is necessary for a partner. I mean, if you have a partner, you would want that. You definitely would. And if they're not emotionally supportive, you would definitely need a better friend background to support you emotionally. Let's see. What involves a partnership in the first place? What do you need for a partnership? You need emotional stability, emotional support, financial support, and companionship. Which companionship, once again, you can get from friends, you can get from strangers even. Companionship is to me, it's relative to where you are. You find companionship everywhere. You can make an animal your companion. So do we need a partner for life? Because everything to me that a partnership requires or needs is easily found everywhere. If you associate with people, if you are social with people and you connect with many, I mean, I've connected with total strangers. Not to the extent where I've kept them close in my life, but, you know, when you give someone something, when you help someone on the street financially, or, you know, you just stop and say, hey, can I help you with anything? You emotionally connect with that person. You know, even if you don't feel emotionally like you got anything out of it, typically the other person did. And so in turn, companionship is everywhere. Anything living, breathing can be a companion. Anyone who understands your language and understands feelings, or actually feels, can be emotionally supportive. Financially, the government, there's all kinds of things that people who don't have complete financial freedom can do to make their financial life better, which it doesn't actually to me, make it better. It actually makes it worse, because then it gives them access to coming into your life and being a pain more than anything. And having other people control your finances, to me, just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, it's great that that stuff is out there for people who can't financially support themselves, or don't have a person who is willing to help them financially. I don't believe that a partnership is a necessity. I believe it's something I want because I like constant companionship. I like having constant connection with one person who, to me, is special, different, someone that I enjoy my time with, not that I need to have, but that I enjoy having. I think intimacy, I definitely am not the kind of person, nor would I ever be. I do believe I would never be the kind of person that would be able to just sleep around, to get that physical support, that physical pleasure. I just couldn't do it. I care too much about who I am, and to me, that is a connection that can only be shared with someone who is special, someone who I value to the extremes. In order for it to be enjoyable, I mean, that's without physical attraction, without that intimacy level. There, to me, it's just an act, and it's not even as enjoyable as, feeling like you've connected, like you are one with another person in a way that you cannot or shouldn't be with just anyone. And a lot of people look for pleasures in life to the extent where, yes, that is a thing. And to me, it's sad that they can't find that special person to share that with, that they can feel safe with, and that they're constantly searching for pleasure that they could literally be getting every day, with the right person. I think that people who find similarities in the way that they want the house kept, or that they want work done, the way that they dedicate themselves to making money, the way that they dedicate themselves to their household, the way that they dedicate themselves to their children, that if those things were similar, that people would have a greater bond that they wouldn't be able to get with anyone else. Whereas, people who get together that are opposites attract. I get that. I don't know why, other than it is, to me, a way that nature balances itself out. When a person who just doesn't care about what the house looks like and a person who is a neat freak get together, that person who's a neat freak constantly keeps the house clean. They are constantly worried about it, constantly stressed out about it. The person who doesn't care just lets them do it. And by doing so, they create, to me, a distance between them. But over time, you see that person start to change. You see both of them start to change. because the person who doesn't care about the house usually cares more about the person that they're with rather than the things that they have. So in turn, the person sees the other person stressing and continually cleaning all the time. If they think about it, which eventually I believe they will, they would even subconsciously maybe start helping clean. They wouldn't care so much, but since they care about the other person so much, that would naturally occur. The person who cares so much about what the house looks like but doesn't care so much about their time with the other person, they just care mainly about what they have with the person, they would start to clean less. They would start to care a little less about that and start to, like, eventually I think the opposites would become like each other. They wouldn't become exactly like each other, but over time with a person, you change. Your attitude towards things change. And I think that's nature's way of balancing out and finding those people as one. They literally become like each other. Even the one who was so caring, they cared so much about how the house looked, or this person who cared so much about their time with the other person, and it made them fight. It makes them stressed. But over time, you eventually see that gradual change towards each other. So the opposites attract each other still, even after they originally attracted each other. And they become different. It's a growth thing. So, like, even if you're not concentrating on it, even if one person's fighting with the other this one's fighting to get their time, this one's fighting to get the house clean, eventually they realize and something clicks subconsciously. I don't think it's even a conscious effort. I think something clicks and they just start acting like each other. And the more they act like each other, the less they fight. Because they don't have so much to fight about, because they are coming to each other instead of it doing what it typically should and causing each other to break. The stress alone can drive a person crazy. Because one person, like, somebody can care so much about something that it, like, literally drives them mad. So I don't think that a partnership is necessary, but I think nature thinks so. And I think that the mind, because of nature, thinks so. And we long for that companionship. We long for that constant in our lives that actually makes it feel good to be alive with the person. And if everyone was similar in everything that they did, there wouldn't be a challenge. It wouldn't be challenging. You wouldn't be able to bond, because you'd already be bonded in every way possible. You would be so similar you'd make each other sick. And like if everybody was the same and like two people genuinely cared only about what the house looked like and they constantly cleaned, if they never cleaned together, if they always just were cleaning, one person sees a mess and they clean it up because they're neat freaks, but they don't genuinely care about the time that they are using, then the similarities would actually tear them apart. It would literally create a distance between them. Um, because they would never be doing it together. They wouldn't care about that time together. They wouldn't be bonding. Whereas a person, if the neat freak is doing dishes and the person who doesn't care about dishes, does not care about anything in the house, decides that they're going to go in for once because they want to talk to the other person, and they just they find themselves doing dishes with that person by accident, just to spend time with them because they care about their time. So during that kind of transition, there is a bonding there because the person who is a neat freak is like, oh my God, this person is doing that for me. They're not doing it because they want to. They're doing it just to be with me, just to spend time with me. And that bond, that kind of bonding, is something we all long for, but it is so hard to find. And it's so hard to get a bond, to form a bond with someone if they generally don't care about the person. They just care about their time, what their time means to them. Then their time is going to be spent doing what they want to do. So to actually love a person, I think that changes you. And if it doesn't change you, then you don't really love them. You're just put together, you're just looking for that companionship, but you're not finding it because you are literally just settling for something comfortable. Because you can live with the fact that even a neat freak can live with the fact that the person that they're with isn't a neat freak. You can live with anything. You can live with a person who doesn't care about finances. And you personally would just take over that spot. But there's still a gap there. And as long as that gap is there in everything you do, or even just in a few things that you do, if you don't literally create a bond with a person and you just keep everything separate, you keep segregating yourself, you like to watch movies, that person likes to play video games, and you never do anything together, you're not going to have a bond. And that bond could be beautiful. It could be. If you cared more about the person than the acts that you do, the things that you do together, it wouldn't feel like you're doing anything. You're not sacrificing anything if you truly love a person. And I think it's not necessary, but it is something we all naturally long for. Is a constant, a real, and completely bonded feeling to another person, no matter the sex. That those bonds have to be there in order for a person to be special to you. It's not how they act that's the problem. It's whether or not they act in a way that's loving and caring to you. And it's in how you act towards that person that is the loving, caring act that makes them special, that makes you special to them. But is it necessary? I can do everything by myself. Even though I'm a female, I can find a way. Strippers make more money. I have morals that go against that. But if I had to, I'd do it. I would. I would do what it takes to survive, because to me, that's all we're here for. Survival. If we find a way to survive with another person and to have a bond that nothing else can touch, that no one else could touch, if we could become close to another person to where we feel like everything we do is important. Everything we do creates a bond. Everything we do is a bonding creation, is a bonding time. Is that the way you spend your time? Or is it just that you just simply want another person to give a shit about you? Excuse my French. Or, yeah, is it you that you care about? Or is it another person that you've created a bond with? Which we have many bonds, but only certain ones are actually meant to last, are actually meant to be that kind of special, to where whatever you do, none of it really matters. What matters is who you're doing it with, and how you feel about them, and how they feel about you. Not necessary, but definitely a life worth living. Definitely something worth having. None of us wants to feel alone. So, I don't know. It's human nature. And it's interesting. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I'll probably do a lot more relationship type of stuff, because that is something that's always on my mind. But as far as, my first video, I'd like to hear your comments. I'd like to read your comments on it if you feel like it. Let me know what you think. Maybe it'll change my view. I'm always open to somebody else's. Alright, thanks for listening.